Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Peter with Aortic Warriors. Here we have an interview with Jennifer McDougald. She is from Ontario, Canada. Um, Jennifer, we would love for you to share your story. Could you please tell us what happened?
Sure. Um, my husband, Scott, he's 45 at the time of his passing. He passed away June 6th of this year. My husband was a young man who enjoyed exercise. He tried to eat well and eat healthy. He was in good condition, and I mean, his blood pressure was always good. There was no predisposed heart issues. This is a picture of him here.
Wow.
He was my husband for 25 years, father to my two girls. My girls are 17 and 14. The day before he passed, he was taken to the hospital with heart attack symptoms. He had a lot of pain in his chest. He was losing feeling in his left arm, shortness of breath, and he went to the hospital and got checked out. Because he said that he thought he was having a heart attack, they did an EKG. They did all kinds of blood tests and that sort of thing on him, and everything came back negative. There was nothing there, so they just basically said it was probably indigestion. Gave him some medicine like Pepto-Bismol and told him to go home and just rest.
Okay.
On Tuesday morning, this normal morning, woke up, made his health drink in the morning, and then, got him a cup of his decaf coffee. I went to work. At 4:30, I got a text message from him saying, what did we want for supper? He was going to start preparing it. Now, my girls were home at the time, and they heard him moving around upstairs, and he went to go lay down in bed for a little bit. I got home, it was about 5 or so. I went upstairs to go wake him up for supper. And he had passed. My 17-year-old and I proceeded to try CPR, called 911. The ambulance came, and they took him to the hospital. It seemed to take forever. They worked on him for about 20 minutes to hospital. When I finally got there and I went in and I told him to stop because I knew he was already gone. He died in his sleep here. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
So, yeah. I can genuinely say he went the way he wanted to go, which was in his sleep and peacefully. But it's been very difficult.
Of course.
To
Yes.
try and pick up the pieces.
Yes, of course.
So, because at the time we didn't know what happened, I had requested to do the autopsy to determine what it was and to see if anyone was at fault. Now, the protocol here is the doctors and the hospitals followed all the protocols here. I was basically told by the coroner, with the location and the severity of the issue, even if he had had a doctor standing on either side of him, hooked up to every monitor possible, there was no way they could have saved him.
Wow.
And because of where it was located, which was above the heart before it branches out to go down the thoracic and upwards, they said it was very, very difficult to find it. The autopsy report shows that he was in really good health. There was nothing physiologically wrong with him or any of his organs. Like I said, there wasn't any strain on the heart or anything like that. Now, the coroner did call me and ask me if I wanted genetic testing done to see if it could be something that could potentially affect my children. So I have agreed. I haven't gotten any results on that yet. But I have agreed to have the genetic testing done for my own peace of mind.
Yes.
Because at least, even if I know that it's not a genetic predisposition, I at least know that I don't have to worry about losing my children too soon.
Yes. Yes.
To
of
this.
course. Yes, of course.
So
this genetic testing will be done post-mortem because he had
that's
already passed.
correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So most of the people, perhaps their understanding of genetic testing is just a swab in the mouth, and here would have an opportunity to learn that you can actually do genetic testing post-mortem. And of course, this is for the protection and also knowledge for your children. Okay.
Yeah, but the one thing, because I spoke to my family doctor about it, and she doesn't recommend having my girls genetically tested for this if it does come back until they're late into their 20s, for the simple fact that once we know if there is a genetic issue there, they won't be able to get any life insurance.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So for us, we were very fortunate because my husband and I did get those, and they have my children have basic life insurance. But if for any reason in the future they choose to get more,
I see.
They wouldn't be able to because it is a pre-known condition.
I see. Okay. Yeah, these are things that we don't actually think about.
I had no idea about this stuff until after he was gone.
And he didn't even have a chance to even make it to the hospital. It was just, wow.
It happened sometime between 4:30 and about 5:15.
Oh, wow, within 45 minutes.
Yeah, when I found him at about 5:15, he was already blue and had stopped breathing. So chances are he was already passed because he was cold.
Wow.
Sorry.
It's okay. Take your time. I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
It's definitely nothing that we could have thought of that would have happened. Everything was fine. He already went to the hospital and everything checked out fine. And this just was not something that you would think about, from an indigestion to an aortic dissection. So how was that? Was an aortic dissection a diagnosis that they perform post-mortem by the coroner from
That's right.
autopsy? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was an aortic dissecting or a dissecting aortic aneurysm.
Okay. Okay.
That was cause of death.
Okay. Okay. Um, I suppose all we could have peace on is that he did pass peacefully, and there was no pain that we know of.
There was no expression of pain or anything like that on his face.
Mm-hmm.
He looked like he was sleeping peacefully.
Okay. Yes. So there was no struggle.
I know it's of no consolation to me, but the doctors said that it was instant.
Mm-hmm.
It was very difficult in the beginning because he didn't have any problems with his heart.
Mm-hmm.
His blood pressure was always really good.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have any problems with cholesterol or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like I said, he tried to make sure that he was eating healthy all the time, and he exercised daily. It was just a shock that it was this.
Yes. When was the last time he had a physical to check his blood pressure?
Well, they checked it the day before at the hospital, and it was a little high. It was 120/84.
Wow.
But his normal blood pressure and his last physical was in March, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And his blood pressure then was 110/72.
I mean, even 120/84 for most people is considered within normal range.
Right.
So
even when he was, like, even if he was sick and he was getting his blood pressure, because I know I have problems with my blood pressure,
mm-hmm.
and it's being managed right now by medication.
Mm-hmm.
However, he was always curious about his own, and he would always check it. His pressure was always on the low end of normal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was. We've had dogs all our lives, and he's always taken the dogs for runs or bicycle rides daily.
Mm-hmm.
He worked in a physical job where he was lifting a lot of heavy things on a daily basis.
Okay.
He was physically fit.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I mean, he weighed 140 pounds, 145 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, his waist size was a 30.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he didn't fall into the typical cookie cutter, I guess you could say, of someone who could have a potential heart condition.
Right. Right. And that's why with Aortic Warriors, we're pushing for our public awareness campaign, not just the heart. Check your aorta too. Because the EKG only checked the heart, and his heart was fine. And being that he was an athlete, he exercised, he jogged, we compare it to like a car engine and the fuel line, right? His engine was probably like a Mustang, you know, a nice sports car. But for some reason, one reason or another, the fuel line was not intact, or it was brittle, or we don't know, right? It just decided to all of a sudden split, and that cuts out the engine, and unfortunately, it cut out his life. You know.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here for, I suppose, is to let people know that, again, not just the heart, check your aorta too, and that could save a life. And if they had checked the aorta the day before, perhaps he would have had to go through surgery and be able to correct it.
I suppose that's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, we won't know for sure.
Right.
Dissection may have been too bad at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, the way I've been explained that the only way to find this particular item
Mm-hmm.
or this particular dissection or any dissection like this
Mm-hmm.
is through either the ultrasounds
Right.
here
Yes.
or, and even that, an MRI possibly.
Yes. Yes.
But they would need to know where they're looking.
Right. Right. Which is something that Aortic Warrior is trying to push is the knowledge of echocardiogram, which is the ultrasound. If they were to look at the heart and then just past the heart, that's where it happened. If they were to have looked at it with ultrasound, they might have seen it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But from what I can tell, I mean, based on the protocols that all hospitals here in Ontario have, they were all followed, and
yes.
They did the basic standards.
Yes.
Because they didn't think there was anything else.
Right. Yeah, no,
and
we're not.
Stereotypically, most people think if you're 45 and you're in good shape, this is not something they look for.
Right. Yes, it is not. It is not. And this is not putting any blame on anybody, on hospitals or anything like that. We're just trying to say that maybe for the future we're creating the awareness. Hey, let's, just because heart is fine, how about let's just check the aorta too? Just that additional phrase, your heart looks fine. How about let's just check your aorta just to see, right? And again, we're not pointing fingers. This is all after the fact, but if we were just to have first responders or hospital staff or even laymen like you and I, and we go to the doctor and say, hey, can you also check my aorta too? That may have done something. I don't know, but yeah. So
I mean, especially considering it was such a strong feeling that there was something wrong there. My husband wasn't the type to go to the hospital for a kind of funny feeling, right? He genuinely thought.
Yes.
It scared him. When he came home that night, he told me, he says, I really thought I was having a heart attack. I don't know if everybody has that feeling when they dissect.
Right.
I'll be completely honest. This is the first time I had ever heard of it. And then I started doing research, and that's when I found your group and a lot of really helpful information on your site to help explain what happened. So thank you for that. It really did give me some insight as to what exactly it was, because I had no idea.
Before it happened to me, I had no idea either. And I'm a doctor. So,
right.
And when it happened to me, mine had ruptured. And I was paralyzed 20 minutes later. But before I was paralyzed, I was thinking about going to go home and sleep it off. I would not have woken up the next day. I'm almost positive. So just the fact that I was still awake, and then 20 minutes later I was paralyzed, and I was still trying to go home. Believe it or not, I was still trying to go home. My wife came to pick me up, and when I finally couldn't even sit down on the side of the van, and I just finally lay down all six on the ground, that's when they called 911. So I didn't have that at the moment. I didn't have pain. I just was paralyzed. So, but again, like you're a man, it's like if I just go home and sleep it off, I don't want to go to the hospital.
Right.
Maybe I'll feel better the next day. And I probably would have been like him and not wake up. So, but I want to thank you for sharing the story. That's very brave of you to be able to do this interview with me. Being that the memory is still so fresh, only about 3.5 months ago, really. How are your children handling this?
My oldest is having a hard time.
Mm-hmm.
They had a very typical teenage daughter/father relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and they fought a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she has a lot of regrets, a lot of guilt. My youngest was definitely, she's so much like my husband. She's doing well. She still misses him. But my husband was always an optimistic, upbeat kind of person, and my daughter is definitely just like him.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, just the other day, it was my husband's birthday just the other day, and I was a little sad. And she says to me, she says, Mom, she says, Dad wouldn't want us to be sad. He'd want us to remember him. So, she is a lot like her father. So, they're doing okay, though.
Okay.
We're getting the help that we need.
Okay.
Mentally. My oldest daughter and I, because we both performed CPR on him, have been recently diagnosed with PTSD.
Okay.
Because of the scenario and everything that transpired that evening.
Yes.
So, we're dealing with that one step at a time, but yeah.
Yes.
If it weren't for my family, though, we probably wouldn't be doing as well. The support network that I have is phenomenal. So, if I can give any advice to a family that's going through something similar, it would be rely on that family and don't be too proud to ask for help. That's what they're there for. So, yeah.
That is definitely a good advice and suggestion to those people who has lost loved ones. Well, before we close, I would just ask one more question, which would be, being that this has never been heard, never been known in your presence, in your state of knowledge, what would you say to someone who, again, not knowing this thing even exists, to say, hey, this thing does exist, just know about it? You know, what would you say to those type of people?
You know what? You don't have to be the perfect candidate to be hit by this. There's no cookie cutter puzzle pieces that this can fall into, and you can't tell just by looking at somebody that this is a possibility. I mean, essentially my husband had a ticking time bomb, shall we say, and nobody knew. And the first words out of most people's mouths were, it wouldn't have been him. He didn't match the stereotype of somebody who could be suffering from a serious physical problem like this. And you know what? Just get checked. Ask the doctor. If you're getting your heart checked, you know what? Just take it that one step further and just let them know that, listen, I know about this. Is this something possibly that could be going on? Is that why I have like I said, in my husband's case, he thought he was having a heart attack. Maybe if everything comes back clear, you know what? Okay, I'm not having a heart attack, but something's going on. Can we check something else? the ultrasound. Ask for the ultrasound.
Right.
You're in charge of your own personal health.
Yes. Yes. And what you just said is very important. You're in charge of your own personal health, and to ask the right questions. Having the ultrasound, besides just the EKG, that had doing an ultrasound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if my husband had known that, he probably would have had that.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, most of the time, especially with dissections and aneurysms and that sort of thing,
mm-hmm.
it's mostly to do with brain aneurysms.
Right.
And I'm not saying that one is not as important as the other,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but if you don't know, I didn't know about aortic dissecting
mm-hmm.
and aneurysms the same.
Mm-hmm.
If you have that little bit of knowledge, it's a question that can be asked as a follow-up question.
Yes.
It's possible.
Yes. Yes.
Ask the question.
Yes. Ask the question. Okay. Well, thank you, Jennifer, for spending time with us and doing this interview. And we want this interview to be able to help a lot of people, educate, bring awareness to the aorta. And again, paying tribute and remembering your husband. This is something that we could do for him by using his story and letting other people know and learn from that experience. So I want to thank you for this time. Is there anything that you would like to add as a closing?
Other than the fact that remember to love the people that are close to you,
mm-hmm.
and tell them every day. Because from my own experience, you never know when it's going to be your last time saying goodbye.
Wow. Yes. Yes, that's very true. Thank you. Thank you for that, Jennifer. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.